Welcome to the Atomic Real Estate Show, Philadelphia's #1 real estate podcast and a Direct Subs production. Real estate investing is not rocket science, and on our show, we'll delve into best practices with a focus on the small things that add up over time. Please enjoy the authentic, informative, and actionable show with our host, Paul Jagelski.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Atomic Real Estate Show. I am Paul Jagelski, your host, and today I have the pleasure of sitting with John and AJ. If you two would like to introduce yourselves, tell the listeners a little bit about yourselves, who you are, what you do, and we'll get into it.
All right. Yeah, I'm John. I'm an engineer and a real estate investor. I've been doing it for 5 to 6 years, since 2017, all in Philly. Single family rentals, 2-family, 3-family, and a commercial building. And this is AJ.
I'm John's fiance. I'm an architect, and John sucked me into real estate investing. 2019, that's when I bought my first property, and it's been fun ever since. So
Awesome.
We actually don't have any properties together.
So that was going to be one of my
separate.
first questions
Yeah.
for you. So everything is separated between the two of you as of right now,
As of now, yeah.
because you are engaged.
Yes.
We're engaged.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But so everything's your portfolio. Everything is your portfolio out of it. Any ideas of partnering in the future on deals or keeping them separate?
We actually have separate partners right now.
Really? Cool.
Yeah, we each have other partnerships that we've done. So I guess I can start from the beginning. The first property I ever bought in the city was in 2017 in Northeast Philly, in a neighborhood called the Oxford Circle. So that's actually where my parents are from and where they met. So, mom and dad, they moved out of the city in the early 90s and moved into the suburbs. That's where I grew up, in Cheltenham. So I was always familiar with like the old neighborhood.
Yeah.
I had cousins there. And so right when I got out of school, I had, I went to college for engineering, got a W-2 job out of school, and I'm making money. And I was always interested in real estate, not interested enough to do it professionally, I don't think. Like, I always have that engineering mindset. So I went to engineering, but I started looking for properties to invest in, and luckily I was in a position where I basically lived at home, right?
Okay.
Didn't have to pay rent.
Low overhead.
Yeah. So I was saving up money for my job, and I went in and bought a 2-family property, like with an FHA mortgage.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that first duplex was $125,000.
Oh.
So two 1-bedroom apartments and all the utilities separate. I inherited the tenants on the first floor.
Fun.
And then
And they've been there for 30 years.
they'd already been there for like 25 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
Now, were you guys together at this time?
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, we were dating.
Okay. So you were seeing this all unfold in front of you?
I just thought it was kind of crazy. It's like, why is he buying a house? I've never been there before, that neighborhood, and what are you going to do with it? I just didn't get it. I had no idea why he would want that.
Sweet. So supportive though.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a say anyway, so it was like, okay, have fun.
Yeah. It's like she was still in school, finishing her degree and working. So I was like, well, while you're busy in school, I'm going to do this and see.
So boots on the ground. You put in your own sweat equity out of it?
On the first property, no, I didn't really have to do anything to it.
Cool.
Just little repairs here and there over time, but that one was ready to go. And
Nice.
after a year, I got tenants to move upstairs. So I had, both units rented out. Was cash flowing.
Yeah,
cash
that's
positive,
awesome.
and didn't have to put as much money down because it was FHA. So yeah, it really worked out.
You still have that property?
I still have that property. Yeah.
Still rent rolling?
Still rent rolling. I did a FHA streamline refinance.
Okay.
So that's basically, if you have an FHA mortgage and your existing servicer is servicing it, there's a program where they can do what's called a streamline refinance. It made more sense when the rates were going down.
Yeah.
But you could basically, they would just give you a lower rate to keep you on so you wouldn't leave.
That's awesome.
So I was able to do that in like 2020 or 2021 and actually got like,
okay, so you had 3-4 years of equity built up into it too.
0.75% or something off the rate.
Yeah.
So maybe I bought it at a 3.75 and now it's at a 3.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
30,
so
30 year, 15
yeah,
year,
30-year fix.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's been working out great. And after another year, I in 2018 I bought a single family property. So
In the Northeast.
in the Northeast also,
Okay.
in like Tacony, Wissidoming area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So close to the other property, and like a working class neighborhood where the houses were cheap and rents were good there.
We'll say how cheap it was.
So I actually bought that house for $82,000.
Oh God.
You can still buy a house. Now it was not in as good condition as the duplex. Like,
I'll trade you that 82 versus the 82 you can find nowadays.
still good shape. But what happened was there was a long-term tenant living there who was like tangentially related to the owner somehow, and he didn't take care of the place.
Well, no, he got sick.
Was a smoker.
Yeah.
And then he got sick, and then the place really got bad. So not only was it like a smoker house with nicotine on the wall
everywhere. Yeah, you can't kill that stuff.
And
you gotta rip it down.
I wiped it all down.
Did you really?
We did 6 coats of paint, 4 coats.
Yeah.
Oh God.
After I cleaned it all.
So we
See,
that
that's
one
why I
we
just
bought.
said rip it out. I can't because it's
Yeah,
hard work.
we hadn't really done any renovations then, so we were still like
Okay.
dipping our toes.
learning
learning on this
learning as we
house.
go. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd
Yeah,
say
so we put more sweat equity into that one.
my favorite thing about that house was one that we kind of got to learn a little bit of everything. Like it was my first time painting, your first time tiling.
So you're officially jumped in now.
I'm jumped in. It's like it's the middle of the summer too. There's no air in the house. Like I'm full on
Yeah.
in.
And that was before we were engaged, so she didn't know like is she ever gonna recoup.
Yeah. It's my free time.
Right.
Nice date.
Yeah, I think
Friday date nights.
yeah.
Right.
The best thing about that house was that John had converted the basement. Oh yeah, he learned to drywall there as well. Converted the basement into a bedroom, so it now became a 2-bed, 1-bath to a 3-bed, 1-bath.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give credit to 2 people. My dad, who retired that summer.
He did a lot
And
of
I was
painting.
like, oh, yeah, why don't you come over and put on a couple coats of paint?
I would like tape and prime at night. He'd come back the next day, do another coat, and we were like working around the clock actually.
Man.
Yeah.
Now, are you redesigning these just for fun in your head?
I just picked the paint color and maybe the granite color. Nothing like we weren't knocking down walls. Like, this was very minimal. Like we're just first time for me picking up a paintbrush.
Yeah, and then second person I'll give credit to was my boss at the time, Joe, he did the same thing, but 15 years earlier. Basically, he started buying up properties in Philly and flipping them or renting them to his buddies or, getting tenants. So he had some experience. So he came down one night, like the first time when I was hanging drywall. So he taught me how to frame and hang drywall.
So you still had a W-2 job at this time?
Yeah. So I was, I'd go to work and 5 o'clock, I'd drive over there and like get a fast food cheeseburger on the way and like just start working all night.
No neighbor complaints? No issues with that?
No. So that's one thing you got to do is like always talk to neighbors.
Yes.
Introduce yourself, be friendly, listen to them. Like some people, they just want to be heard, right?
Yep.
Like retirees or people that they just want somebody to feel like is listening to them.
Yep. They come from an old neighborhood where neighbors actually were neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
They talked to each other. They knew each other. So yeah, 100% to that point.
I think they even have good advice. Half of it's them complaining, but half of it actually is usually pretty good at
If
it.
you listen to them, yeah, I mean, you might figure out where a leak's coming from before you even knew you had a leak
Right.
coming because
Right.
they've been next
through
door.
it.
Yeah, they're like,
you know?
oh, by the way, he had a problem with, there's a raccoon in the
Yes.
ceiling.
Right.
Oh, I didn't
Yes.
know that. Wow.
Oh, and hey, by the way, can you just keep it quiet until 8:30 for me, please? But then
Right.
you can work through the night out of it. Like little simple things like that, and it goes so
Yeah.
far. Not to mention, you're renting these; they could come to you with a tenant. Hey, I know X, Y, and Z. Hey,
Yeah.
this has happened.
Right.
You being connected to your neighborhood is such a key point. I'm so happy you bring that up because it is such a good thing, especially as landlords. You want to know that there's other people looking at your property when you're
Right.
not there and not just your tenants.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. So you talk to the neighbors, keep the property clean while you're working on it. And so it took about 3 to 4 months, I think. Maybe longer, I don't remember, but
3 or 4 is not bad.
to get it rented. So I think I closed July 7th.
You're going into the cold time.
Yeah, and I didn't get it. The tenants moved in November 1st.
Yeah.
I think you listed it like end of September where someone couldn't move in October because it was like a week.
Right.
Yeah, we could have gotten somebody October 1st, but that tenant fell through. Or
November, December, January,
situation.
February are hard months for tenants.
Yeah.
I know as a landlord myself, you always in the back of your head, why are you moving during this time? This is holiday season. This is home time season. Why are we looking to move? What's the underlining on the real move? I just got stuck with an apartment for 2 months, 3 months on the market because it was a cold time and I was looking for the perfect fit.
Right. And you don't want to settle to make your life miserable. It's not.
Nope, it's not. That's a lesson that my wife and I had to take on this time for the first time over our first 4 years. We've been very lucky that we were in good rent months. We had good people apply and rent was always up. People were looking to rent. This year, it's a little different. I think Roxborough Manioc is going to see a little bit different rental market this year. But yeah, I did not want to settle. There was no way I was going to take $5,000 worth of damages or potential damages versus 1 month, 2 months missed the rent roll.
Right.
I do have a trick though. If you find your tenant in the winter, which I
Please
found a
tell.
winter tenant. So jumping ahead to a couple of properties that
That's
we'll get to
fine,
later,
fine.
but we closed on December 3rd and it needed like a weekend's worth of work.
Okay.
Like we changed the locks, cleaned a couple things, fixed odds and ends, listed it right away. And I had tenants in there 12 days later.
What?
3 single guys, all had working jobs. They just had still been at their parents' house since COVID.
I think
and
that
were
part's
like,
still luck. Yeah.
I think that was a
haven't gotten
lucky
to the
situation.
tip.
Still, that's awesome.
Yes. But so they move in on the 15th. And all I'm thinking about is I never want to do this again. I don't want to list in a year. So I had them sign a 16.5-month lease.
Smart.
So they would end on May 31st. And actually they told me they're not re-signing. One of them's moving out of state and they're going to find somewhere else. But
get back on that
I'm just
rotation.
like, okay, this is the best time to be listing right now. So
It
I'm
is.
happy I set myself up for that.
Yeah. And as you said, that is pretty much the golden spot right there in that middle. End of April, May, June, you can get somewhere right into that. It's a golden spot for us landlords. A lot of people are moving in and out. Schools are coming in and out. You've got sessions. You've got young couples that want to find the places for themselves.
Right.
It works really well. People look at interest rates. Oh, I don't want to buy. Let's say for another year, whatever happens to be in that time. Cold weather is it's a different ball game.
Right. And I was like, they were on board also because they don't want to find a place next December 15th.
Correct.
Right before 10 days before Christmas. So
and that's what
it was
I
a
always
win-win.
ask yourself at the same time as a landlord. Why are you on the market during these months?
Right.
What did you do to put yourself here
Right.
at the same time? Because it's a two-way street, it really is. But finding that pairing is so key, in my opinion. To me, I look at credit score almost last. I look at income almost last. To me, this sit down, this meet and greet is so much more important to me than what any Zillow report can generate for me for a tenant. And I don't know if tenants really understand that. To come
Right.
present yourself, be on time, show us that this is a business for us. This is our livelihoods.
Right.
It's no different than if you want to go to a grocery store and you want to buy stuff. It's a business. You can't steal from it. You got to be respectful for it. You can't break things. You can't eat things in there. Same thing with ours.
Right.
So yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool that you were able to find that in 12 days.
I think we got really lucky. Maybe it was between the holiday season. They couldn't take
Whatever
their
it
parents
is.
any longer, but
Hey, you got them, and that's good. And they worked out for you?
yeah, they've been great. We
Sweet.
check in every 4 months with them because I'm very paranoid. As we manage our properties really differently. I'm
Okay.
a paranoid landlord, and I have to replace the air filter I do replace
Good
it,
for
but
you.
that's my foot in the door because I'm nervous.
Hey, it's a great excuse to get in there.
Yeah.
And it's one of the most costly things that you'll ever have to repair, and no tenant will actually physically do it. They'll tell you they will.
Right.
They'll put in their lease.
Right. Like we'll leave an extra one there, but
Oh, I quite literally bought a year's worth, 12 of them, left them in a
Yeah.
box,
yeah.
pre-labeled each one of them for them.
Mhm.
And I do a quarterly inspection on this house. So I went to do my quarterly inspection. I did it on a Wednesday. Trash comes on Thursdays in Philadelphia in that area. And there are 5 of my air filters sitting right in the garbage can, unopened, unused, because they just wanted to make it look like they used all of my air filters.
That's not the point.
Yeah. So needless to say, that changed my aspect out of it.
I mean, it's their air, but still,
I lost an HVAC system last year, 2021, due to the fact that it was A, oversized, and B, the filter wasn't changed for a quarter and they had a dog. It just gummed it up.
Right.
It overworked it. It froze it out. By the time I looked at repairs I think were $2,800. A new cost was $42. Put a new one in. Just wasn't worth it. Because all for I know is they fixed that part. The next
Right.
section trips.
right.
Next section's worth $1,500. Now you should have just bought a brand new one.
Yeah. Actually, one of the times when we went to my house to replace the HVAC filter, I pulled the filter out and soaking wet. And it was in the middle of the summer. So I was like, is it condensation? Is
Yeah.
it humidity? And then John realized that the condensate trap was blocked.
Yeah, on the AC coil,
Oh God.
where all the condensate pools at the bottom,
Yeah.
is gummed up. You get like bacterial growth or,
Just
basically
little dust mites, yeah.
dust or something.
But luckily,
builds up,
like the
clogs
system
trap. So it
didn't
was
shut
running
off.
into the bottom
Yeah.
of the furnace, which from the coil, it can damage the motor. It could damage the board, rust out the bottom of your ductwork.
Well, and then we realized we're like, oh, there's also a puddle on the floor, which we didn't even notice at first. And I asked them, I was like, how long's that been there? Like, oh, I didn't even see that.
Oh man, yeah, water's
And it's right
water's
next to the
scary.
laundry, so it's not like it was in like some weird room. But luckily, John just replaced it right away. And then like a day or two later, it was this insane heat wave. And I'm like, I don't think it would have been able to keep up.
Yeah.
It would have gotten an emergency call. And
Yeah, and
So
then
was
it's
it-
out, and then
right.
yeah.
so it was on our own time, which is why I
Yeah.
like those like check-ins. Because
Yep.
it's like, we're free right now. Do you guys need anything? Can we fix anything random?
That communication is so key to people.
Mhm.
It's, as landlords and as tenants, listen, just tell me. I don't care what the issue is. We'll figure that part out, but I need to know when it breaks.
Right.
Just let me know when it breaks. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen. Me, I don't like to do the whole repair thing. It's broken, it's broken. I get a new one out there. I'll scrap that one out to somebody else. And I don't believe in paying the maintenance guy. I don't. It's something, but that communication there
Right.
is what is the difference. If I lose a window AC unit, I'm not gonna send somebody out. I'll send out a new one. Let's get it going. I want my tenants happy. I want everybody to keep rolling. But so you both have different partners out of this. You both are running these differently.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how are you structuring these going forward?
Well, one thing that have changed is that if you go back to that house in 2018,
Uh-huh.
I had tenants there for 4 years, and then they moved out. And this was this past summer, 2022, that they moved out. And I said, well, let's sell this one, right? Like I fixed it up a little bit. I cleaned it up, did my tenant turn. I started interviewing new tenants. I was like, you know what? I don't love the sit down, right? I didn't love any of my interviews that I was
Actually,
doing.
almost every story was kind of a sob story.
Can't start with
And half of them had judgments on them. And admitted it to us, but we're
Good,
trying
but-
to be like, just none of them sounded right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's got to fit.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought, well, values are so high, like let's just sell it. Right.
Well,
So
and the house had doubled in value over that time period.
between
Look over that.
appreciation
Kinda like that.
and the
Yeah.
work that we did and the fact that I got a discount because the house was so gross
Yep.
before that there was all this appreciation where I could sell it and do a 1031 exchange.
So you have done one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ah, cool.
And a 1031 exchange is basically when normally if you sell a house and you have a profit from when you bought it to when you sell it, you're supposed to pay capital gains tax on that. A 1031 exchange is where you buy a property that's the same cost or more expensive and you defer those capital gains. So the government says, well, you never actually receive the money. You put it right into another property, so you don't have to pay capital gains tax on that. So
Beautiful method.
and the other thing I did at the same time was I owned the previous property in my personal name. So that's how I bought it to get better financing. And the new property that I bought is a 3-unit property that I bought under an LLC. So to protect myself a little bit more, add some liability protection against that. And then I could get a commercial mortgage on that as well. And at the time, this is when rates were starting to come up. The commercial mortgage was almost better than
Yes, it was.
like they didn't move as fast as the residential mortgages did. So I think a 30-year fixed on that would have been like 7 or 6.5, and I got 5.5 from the commercial bank. And I had all the equity from the other deal to put right into it. So I didn't have to bring any money to the table.
How was your 1031 experience?
It was really easy,
Okay.
honestly.
Did you get the 1031 specialist?
Yeah, so there's intermediaries,
Yep.
and you have to use some form of intermediary. You can never touch the cash.
Correct.
That's part of it. And there's a couple companies. The one I use is called 1031corp.com,
Okay.
and they're based out of Collegeville, PA, but I
No
think
way.
they cover the whole country pretty much. And they're like they just do that all day. That's all they do.
That's
so
cool.
they're pretty good. Like you could still get a human being on the phone. You talk to the person, they explain the process to you. All the paperwork was very well done. After closing, they sent me a whole packet that has all the closing documents for the purchase, for the sale, the documents that you need for taxes. So that was actually like the easiest part was just setting that up.
That's cool.
With
Because
that.
most of the time I don't hear that. Most of the time 1031s are very stressful.
The
There was a
stressful
different
part
stressful
is
part.
the timing.
Yes.
I think that you have to find a property. Like you almost have to be under contract before you sell,
It's so scary,
last
but
one.
yes.
or you're gonna be under
Really
the gun.
bump up to it. Yep.
And you kind of saw people.
Did you have a long closing period though for the house that you sold? Like, did you set that up on purpose?
I made it
Most
longer
1031
rather than
sellers do.
shorter.
They
Yeah.
say the closing date is flexible due to the fact that I got to
Yeah.
find something else.
Like, I think it was like a 45 day or something.
Yeah,
Close.
it was residential. Maybe I did 60 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which worked out. And then I think the seller or the buyer wanted to move it forward. I can't remember like these
Yeah,
the details.
They
you-
start
you-
running in. Yes,
you
they do.
forget about, but it all worked out.
That's
And-
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So how big is your portfolio? You don't have to give actual numbers out of it, but so you went from the duplex single family, and you sold the single family for the triplex.
Yeah.
And are you still currently working on building your portfolio?
Yeah. So I have another single family rental that I
Okay.
bought close to here actually in East Mount Airy
Yeah.
That was our COVID renovation project.
during
Cool.
COVID.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we got nothing else going on.
So let's go to East Mountain.
Which
Why not?
Everybody else also was buying property there. So, and that was another house that needed some work. Like we painted the whole house and had to fix the bathroom floor was like caving in. So I had to rip that up and like redo all the plumbing and framing and put a new floor down.
So when you're looking
Bathroom.
for yours, because all right, we've got the duplex, we've got the single family, we've got the triplex, another single family. and you've got all different sizes. What are you specifically looking for? Or is it just as long as the deal makes sense?
Yeah, I look at, does the deal make sense, right? Can I make money? Is it cash flowing deal? What do I have in my, bank account basically?
Yeah.
What can I afford right now? Does it have to be a property that we move into and like house hack and live in flip, or do I have enough money where I can get investment?
So you're taking all game plans
mortgage
possibilities.
Yeah. So at this point, we've done
Multiple different strategies looking at
a
any
house
property.
hack, an FHA multifamily,
I
an
think
investment 30-year fixed, an investment with a commercial paper.
I think another thing we look for, but maybe me more, both of us, not sure, is how can we add something to it? Like he added the bedroom in the basement.
Looking for the added value.
Can we add a half bath on the first floor? None of the row homes in Philly have a bathroom on the first floor. The house we're living in right now, we added 1.5 bathrooms. It was a 3-bed, 1-bath. So now it's a 3-bed, 2.5. So stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's
we
like,
finished the basement.
you're not going to get the COVID inflation every year. So, how can you increase the value of your house?
Right.
Or what if something goes wrong? Like, did you add anything to it? Like,
are there too many bedrooms that will turn you guys off from?
Yeah, I think that
I think we don't
anything
want
above
4.
4 or 5, at least in the city, if you're trying to rent to young professionals, like 5, that's a lot, right? You're going to get a big family
or a bunch of friends that are in the same
or
frat.
a bunch of really young kids who are like just going to destroy the place. So
you're really looking to build a home, not necessarily just a quick little turn, something that can make me money. You're actually trying to get people to be placed in there so they feel comfortable, they're happy there, tenant or otherwise,
right?
That they're taking care of it.
Yeah.
Plus, like, if we ever had to move in for whatever reason, would I like it, or would we be able to live there? And then you start realizing if we were going to live there, I guess in one of his kitchens, there was this weird nook, massive nook that just had a fridge. I'm like, let's move the fridge over and create a coffee bar. Now we've just like increased the size of the kitchen and so much more usable. So that's how we would want to use the space. We don't have to leave the things the way we found it.
So you're still looking to build your portfolio with your partner?
So my partner's my sister.
Okay, cool.
She
Bring
lives
it into the family.
Yeah, she lives in New York City and can't buy there. So she just, rents in expensive Manhattan, but had some money at one point. And she said, if you find anything, let me know. I'll go 50-50. And
that's awesome.
That was the house that we bought from Instagram. So I just crunched the numbers. I showed it to her. And because John's had a couple houses at that point, I already had one. She trusted us. And when I say us, even though they're separate, we work together.
I know.
Everything, so, yeah. And then
it's just more fun to poke at the other one.
Yeah. So the way we, I guess, bought that house though was it tenants in common, or what's the word for it?
Yeah, you could either do if you're putting both your personal names on the deed. There's tenants in common, and then there's another terminology, tenants something, and it basically has to do with what happens if one of you dies.
Right.
How does it split up? So, people who are, I guess, maybe common law, husband and wife, would do it the one way, where if one of them died, the other person just gets the whole house.
Yep.
Right.
As opposed to like
I technically only own one house.
Yeah.
Right.
My wife owns all the other ones.
Right.
Right.
Pennsylvania law, I own all of them.
But if you and your cousin want to go in on a property, you should do it tenant in common, where it's 50-50. So, God forbid your tenant passes away, or your cousin, he only has, 50%
rights to it,
goes to his estate.
And then it goes into that fun little probate of figuring out where it really goes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to buy out? Do you want to sell out? Do you want to go along those lines? But that's awesome.
So I think I learned a lot though with investing with a partner. So she's out of state. She doesn't really come and do anything. So if we have a problem,
it's on you.
It's on me. It's on John. And we decided that with the way we get our rents, we're going to pay me a property management fee.
Good for you.
$50 a month.
Yeah.
And there's some months where I don't do anything, but there's some months where I'm doing more.
Absolutely.
So it kind of balances out. And she's like, and I didn't think about this ahead of time because my previous rental, we used to live in that house and we haven't had a single issue ever. I put my foot in the door to change the air filter, but we really just create our own, we got to go fix something. So in the beginning, we kept having to fix certain things because we hadn't lived in the house, and the tenants are like, oh, the sink seems to be leaking. So we start fixing these things. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did 50-50 because now I'm spending so much more time there. So she had agreed the $50, and I really don't think.
Have you thought about starting your own property management company?
We talk about that sometimes. I feel like I didn't realize how interested I was in property management until I started to do it. And then when I bought the house as well with my sister, I had to document everything. I didn't want her to think I was being sneaky or hiding something.
Bring a different aspect to it.
And I was like, this is amazing. So then I applied that to my other house, and now I'm trying to get John on board with being organized.
So I'm not.
Yeah,
I should be, but take a lesson from it.
Yeah.
Because it really changes. I mean, my accountant this year made me go from a general kind of deductions. So this year he challenged me to actually break out all my receipts and put them into 4 different categories.
That's exactly what I was.
Yeah. Man, does that make a big difference on that deduction list? So yeah, I mean, I did for one, and I was like,
yeah. So
I got to go back through these.
The way my like Excels are set up is if you needed my Schedule E at any given moment, it's already done. So like ready for taxes. Like, bring it on.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So
I bring up property management because as I venture into the real estate world out of it, it's something that I see as a self-making machine almost.
Mm-hmm.
I hold my real estate license, but a property manager has to hold the real estate license out of it. They have to be a broker of record. They can then employ other real estate agents who can then take your tenants and turn them into buyers.
Right.
Those buyers 5 years down the road become buyers and sellers. And those agents need to replenish those tenants.
That makes sense.
And it can kind of just work its own little self-making, self-generating system out of it. So I always ask landlords if they ever think about it. Because it's not like you have to go public out of it. You can get the software, do it yourself, keep it in-house. But for tax purposes, you can pay yourself out of it.
Right.
And it changes things a little bit out of it.
I actually almost, probably not legally because I'm not a realtor, I tried to convince someone to let me be their property manager. They told me that they were going to sell their house, and I said they're moving to Kentucky for 4 years for residency for being a doctor. And I said, don't sell it.
Yeah.
Prices are only going to get higher. The amount of rent that I can list it for, you'll pay for your rental in Kentucky and get money.
right.
And then if you want to come back, you can, or you can sell them then. And he just responds is like, not interested, only selling.
Yeah.
No way.
We gave him the hard sell. Like, look, here's all the benefits.
Yeah.
Get out, really?
Very few downsides. Like maybe this could happen.
And
this could happen.
I mean, one reason I would never buy that house in particular was in the flood zone in Manayunk, but it was a really nice house. I think if you're a renter, you'd be like right off of Main Street.
Man,
And,
it's funny because as a real estate agent, when people come to me and say, I want to sell, the first thing out of my mouth is, have you thought about renting? I'm not trying to put you into a different spot.
right.
And yes, most of them come back, oh, I need a property manager to run it. Would you run it?
Right. And I was like,
even
even if you pay me the 10%, which would have been like $200 a month, like you'll still be making like $1,000 or something.
It's a phenomenal way to not only build the network, but then to get your foot in the door for future.
Right.
Yeah, I think being the advantage of becoming a property manager would be now you have access to like all these owners where, like you said, maybe, you offer to buy the property from them, or maybe that guy is an investor, used to be an investor, he has a bigger portfolio, and you find a deal and you bring it to him and say, look, let me be the leg man, and you just like, you can retire and just
make some
invest
really
in this
cool
deal and become a limited partner.
Well,
yeah. I like the fact that I'd be making like $200 a month for not doing much, and it was in our neighborhood, so if we ever needed to fix anything, it wouldn't have been that bad.
And really, being a landlord, you've now been doing it for 5 and 4, 3,
3. Yeah.
3. So, how many of those really painful calls do you really get? I mean, it's not. In my experience, it's not that many.
Yeah, if you keep up with the property,
like
our best property is the ones that we've lived in and had the opportunity to fix everything and update mechanicals and get things,
build it right,
squeaky clean. And I think you have to have that long-term outlook.
Yeah. But it changes it. It really does make a difference out of it. And that's so cool. I mean, it's awesome that you're seeing it. So it took you 18 months-ish to kind of jump in with him on it.
I was working full time and doing night classes, so
Okay.
I didn't really have time. And then when I was about to graduate, actually, I hadn't even finished my thesis project yet. And I'm like, where am I going to live when I'm done?
You bought your first house before you graduated?
Yeah. So
Oh
I
my
had already
gosh.
I had already been working for 4 years. Like my program was set up where you work during the day, and that's where you learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn. We
It's
went to
night
Drexel, so
Yeah.
yeah, you learn more at work anyways. And then I do my classes at night, and I knew I never wanted to pay someone else like money, and the houses in Philadelphia were reasonable. And
We are such an overlooked city.
yeah, so I'm from Boston originally, and
Oh,
I knew
okay.
I wasn't going to go back because I can't pay rent.
Wicked
That's-
expensive.
Wicked expensive, exactly.
I got family
So,
up there. My
oh,
sister
nice.
and my brother both live up there.
Nice. Yeah, so I like visiting up there, but I just knowing how much cheaper and reasonable everything is, and as an architect up there, I maybe make like let's say 10,000 more, but that doesn't
Cover.
that doesn't cover it when the rent's double. So, yeah, I just knew I wanted to buy something, and I wanted the money to go into my pocket. So we closed in the end of March. We moved in actually right after I presented my thesis. My parents helped me move like all my like unique items, like plants and stuff that you can't put in a truck. And I remember I was in the car with my dad. We're moving into the new house. And I'm like, I just need to close my eyes. I was so tired.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. What a week.
Yeah, so we moved in end of May, and then I graduated in June. And we still had like a couple more months of renovations. We moved in and we had a functioning bathtub and a toilet. We didn't have a sink. We didn't have a kitchen. We brushed our teeth and bathed in a tub for like at least 3 weeks.
Yeah, I was still showering the wall.
Yeah.
I was still tiling the shower wall as we moved in, so you could only take a bath, right?
It was disgusting, especially when you're working on the house. Like,
How's it look now?
it looks lovely.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's amazing. But I don't know if we would ever maybe do that exact thing again.
Yeah, maybe
But-
having a working kitchen and working bathroom beforehand.
Yeah. But we were between Stanley's and like a corner store, so we'd get like hoagies, or we'd go we were using the bathroom for a while at Stanley's. And
Stanley's is a great place.
Yeah.
They're very nice people
Yeah.
and they're family friendly.
I mean, we had to buy stuff from them like every other day anyway, so we're gonna be there.
Yeah. They've kind of got you because you kind of go all the way out to Lowe's other,wise, and they ain't going to
Yeah.
go. So,
Yeah.
and I'll give it to them. I live in Orland, which is the other Stanley's.
Oh,
So they're, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, they get my money. It's either out in Orland or it's over here in Manhattan.
Right.
But that's phenomenal.
yeah. So I actually thought we were gonna live in that house for at least 5 years. I love the neighborhood. My friend lived 2 doors down, didn't even know. We walked out on the street one day, and John ran into my friend.
Yeah.
And everyone on our street was either like young couples or people who had been there like their whole lives, and they could tell you every story about the neighborhood. Same thing, back to the neighborhoods. I still keep in touch and like send Christmas cards to all of them.
Oh.
And yeah, they're the best. And so
But
it was,
unfortunately, after 2 years, I found like a great house
yeah,
that
a
was
grandma
just-
house.
listed for sale. I think it was mid-January, and there was this like massive snowstorm the day we had set up to go look at it.
Yeah, we're driving down Henry Ave, and like every other car is wiped out on the side of the road from the snow. It's like, should we
Great
be
hunting
driving right
days.
now?
Great
I was
hunting
like,
days.
oh, great! Nobody's going to be there to
Yeah.
see it. Of course,
Yeah.
like on our way into the showing, a couple is leaving, and on our way out of the showing, another couple is going in. So you still had 15.
And we
people.
heard a neighbor on the porch say we were like the 40th person there
Yeah.
that day or
Oh,
something.
like,
It was
there's
like
been a ton of
10-minute
people today.
showings or 15-minute showing intervals.
Yeah,
Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, New Year's week.
Yeah.
Love those weeks for house hunting.
Yeah.
Those, I think every one of my properties that I personally own have come from one of those 3 weeks.
It's a good time to buy.
It is such a great time. Especially that like Thanksgiving one when everybody's thinking all the way out into Christmas and everything else.
Right. They can't think of anything else.
Nope. And you're just sitting there and I'm on the MLS.
Yeah.
What got posted?
Yeah.
Who got conned into this one? It's such a great time out of it. Are you guys working on anything right now?
Working on that house.
We're finishing
Okay.
that house that we live in. So we were the bathroom was serviceable, and we were able to redo the kitchen before we moved in.
We have higher standards this time.
And then
Going right back to that one, yeah.
Yeah.
the tricky part was redoing the floors, getting the floors sanded in the new house, moving all of our furniture, and
To
then
the new
sanding
house.
the floors in the old house
Oh.
That tenants could move in.
with enough time that tenants could move in. So that was
We
the
didn't do
time.
it. We hired it out.
Good for you.
Yeah,
don't
we
take,
hired
don't take that one
out.
on.
Yeah, we've learned to hire certain tasks out over the years.
Good. That was going to be my next question
Yeah.
out of it is how much are you actually doing versus hiring?
Yeah. So I do a lot of the mechanical work myself. Like I guess that's the
Electric,
engineering
plumbing.
background. Plumbing, electric, HVAC.
Framing.
Rough carpentry is just fun to do, right? You can get
Yes,
done.
it is.
And then
Painting,
things,
we do.
You guys do the
painting.
painting part?
Yeah, we do painting only because like it's pretty relaxing.
Oh, golly.
So-
That's the word you use out of it.
I think one thing, at
Like
least
you
for,
don't have to think about
Yeah.
it. You just plug in your earphones, start listening to music, and just start rolling.
and
paint.
for me
And there's
personally,
paint
yeah.
everywhere. You just
So
don't know
we
where it
have-
comes from.
We also have painting clothes now because we like start to ruin too many things.
Yes.
Yeah,
but-
half my clothes are
yeah.
painted clothes. Right?
Oh, and yes. I swear you get out of there and you're like, I swear I put a whole jumpsuit on, I had
Right.
gloves on, and you get home and you're like, how?
It gets everywhere.
It's all over my car. Where did it come from my car?
Yeah.
And I wear glasses. I had to switch.
We have,
I
like,
got
dirty
new glasses, so I have
and-
dirty glasses. Whenever I do anything dirty, I'd switch and put the old glasses on. They're all scratched up and covered in like paint speckles.
Sure, that's a straight line. Yes, sir.
I think the one nice thing about still doing some of the work, well, one, we save money, but two, like I sit at a desk all day. I'm at the
Nice to actually
computer.
do something.
The second I can close my laptop and then like use my hands, and
Yeah.
it's actually, like John said, the word relaxing, but
That
it
part to
actually
me is a reaction.
Yeah.
Painting, not so much. That is one that I've learned to hire out for because I do not have that. Come
Yeah.
in, give me a big wall. I'll do big walls all day long.
We'll ask people too if they want to help us and like make it more fun. Like sometimes his parents or my
A
parents.
little wine
or
party out of it,
friends.
like wine and pizza.
We
Yeah,
have
do
a
you want to learn how
Yeah.
to paint?
No,
Teach you how to
okay.
paint.
We aren't teaching, but like we can talk. You can catch up with friends that way. We had a lot of people help us like peel wallpaper at one point.
Oh God, no,
The
you
entire
didn't.
house, and we had a lot of friends help. And yeah, we'll buy them pizza, but it's like also kind of socializing, and they're not. It's not like you're spending money at a bar and then you're hungover the next
100%.
day. So it's a different way to
100%.
hang out. And then we can like talk to people about real estate too, and they'll pick our mind. And one of our friends, like they were starting to buy a house, and they wanted to talk to us about that, and we just like painted together.
That's
talked about
awesome.
It, so.
It is cool.
Yeah.
As I said, painting's not my relaxing part of it.
Right.
Probably my frustrating part, but
Yeah.
the rest of it's relaxing to me.
Right.
I jumped into the working with my contractor here and there.
Mhm.
Whenever I've got slow time out of it and he's got a project that he's working on, I pretty much just, where are you at? Strap on my boots, strap on my belt,
Yeah.
and go work with them. Because it is roughing is a lot of fun. Just being able to see that as a 3D picture, being able to pull that forward, and then having somebody be able to put on the finishing touches to actually get that picture into
Right.
life it's awesome.
Actually, we have another trick similar to that where we're not working with a plumber, but John has asked plumbers for like quotes, like how would you run this new bathroom? And they'll tell you exactly how they do it, how deep the pipes are. They'll give you all the information, and then he'll just do it.
Just so you don't
Plumbing
think
scares me.
we're like taking advantage of the plumbers.
No.
Multiple
We'll ask them
plumbers
for-
have come in, walked through,
Told us
explained
what they
exactly
do.
how they would do the job, and then
Never
never
sent us
send
a
you a
quote.
quote. Like
Yep.
I guess they find a bigger job like an hour later.
But that's the thing. They do. A lot of them, contractors will come in, they like it. That's cool. I'll tell you how to do it. But honestly, for me, what I'm doing right here, right now, it may not be worth the time. So hopefully you can take that knowledge and run with it.
Yeah.
I've got several contractors that, they'll go do those estimates and they'll do that. And it's basically just trying to help the consumer not get screwed over by somebody else.
Right.
Like, hey, FYI, I can't do it, but this is what I would do. This would be the cost, and this is what you should look out for.
Right.
So no, to me, that's networking.
Yeah.
To me, that's nothing more than absolutely networking. And then coming back, you're giving them knowledge, they're giving you knowledge. Hey, you never know where that takes you.
Right. And we still use one of the guys that never gave us a quote back, but I think the timing wasn't right for him, and
Yeah.
we still use them.
Now plumbing, that's a fun one too.
Yeah.
Plumbing, especially if you forget to test it and then put the walls back.
Yeah.
Electrical, you always have to test before you put the walls back. Plumbing, people tend to forget to test.
Right. Yeah, you want to test the soil lines.
Yeah.
Pour the water. Yeah.
Yeah, get those water down the drain, because that's the thing. People cut the water off. They put all the plumbing together, right? And then they start putting the bathroom back together again, the kitchen back together again. Oh, we can turn water back on. And nobody actually tests to make sure that it's actually plumbed properly.
Or with water lines, you can put, I just put street pressure back on the lines and make sure you're not hearing air hissing out of it. You don't have to fill water up.
Are you using PEX and shark bites?
Don't use shark bites, but I use PEX and
Okay.
PEX, barred crimp connectors. I'll use shark bites if it's a repair in the basement that I can see,
Okay.
just in case, like,
Staying true to that behind the walls.
over time, if it were to ever leak, you would see the corrosion building up.
Yep.
But yeah, I would put the crimp connectors behind the walls. But usually with PEX, the advantage is you don't really need a lot of fittings behind the wall. Like you can almost do a straight home run back from the fixture over to on our house now. Did a PEX manifold.
Yeah.
Just to like play around with it. I don't know if I would use it again necessarily, but it was pretty cool. Like to bring everything back, and it helped too because I've been kind of plumbing in piecemeal with that one in phases, like as I did the.
Yeah, and now you can turn it on and off where you need it.
Yeah.
Did you use the 90-degree PEX bend thing so you didn't have to use a 90-degree turn? It's like a white insert.
Yeah, I
and
know.
It clicks the PEX into that, and then that gets screwed to the framing.
Most places I just have like a big radius on the PEX, or I mounted it onto a piece of plywood. So
smart.
For the PEX coming out of it, this is in our little mechanical closet. You can nail the PEX to the wall. And
then it's actually sturdy in there and not going to be rattling around out of it.
Yeah, so when the washing machine turns on,
it's on,
you're not getting water hammer in those pipes and having them, rattling around.
I like it.
So that's, I guess, little things you pick up over time.
Yeah, that's like our fourth house that we've done. That was your first manifold, but still, it's like kind of adding to your portfolio of like what you've done work-wise.
Yeah, because the last house,
try something new on every house.
We kept some of the copper, so I was always adapting copper to PEX. Like,
were you welding?
Yeah, I would sweat on like an adapter, or
I hate the smell
if it's in the basement, I just cut it and clean it and put a shark bite ball valve on.
Yeah, okay.
Because then you can adapt to PEX and you get the ball valve there.
Yeah.
Or you could just stick it on and shut it off and turn the water back on.
Yeah, I put so many valves on all these things nowadays because they're same price as a freaking connector out of it, and now I get the actual shut off out of it. And so, you go into one of my basements and you're like, shut off for the sink, shut off for the toilet, shut off for the other kitchen sink, shut off for the other bathroom. And that way, if the tenant ever has a leak, the first thing I tell them is, hey, it's past 5 o'clock. Shut that one thing off. Go downstairs. I'll have somebody out there in normal hours, so you're not charging up or arm and the leg.
Right.
And it helps. It helps on that end out of it. And that's, my plumber was the one that told me to do it. He was like, I'm going to charge you the same for this bar valve versus this.
Right.
I could put 1 million of these things on, or I could put 1 million of those.
Yeah. It's the labor at that point.
Yep. Because
you definitely want to go with the ball valve instead of like the old globe valves. Like too many of those, you go to shut it off and it starts leaking out of the packing, or it doesn't actually close. Like if I'm changing out a hot water heater and I cut the pipe and there's still water dripping out of it because that globe valve, and they never hold up.
Not even they're brand new.
You can rebuild them, and I guess that's what they did back in the old days.
That's your engineering mind.
Replace the seats on them because in the old days things were designed to be like serviced instead of replaced.
Yes.
A ball valve, costs a little bit more, but I've only seen one ball valve fail. It was stuck open. But
I don't know if I've ever actually seen one fail.
Yeah, they could fail, right? Anything could fail.
Or I put that silicone in there, the waterproof silicone grease stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, just something my plumber, he always did out of it when he was plumbing. Now he's a GC, but when he was plumbing out of it, just little tricks and things that he taught me along the way out of it. I've never had an issue with it since. I was gonna say, I don't think I've had any ball outs, but that's awesome. You guys, to be honest with you, are all amazingly set up. Like you have your systems in place. You have what works for you and what works for you separately, but yet you found ways to bring them together out of it. You guys aren't beating each other up over it, which I think is the coolest part out of it. Nothing, Wi-Fi, honey, I love you. But that's a story for a whole other day out of it. But yeah, I mean, to see real estate as like your common ground here is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what the future brings with the two of you. Your engineering background, your architectural background out of it. And what you can bring for our city before you guys move out of here, because don't do it. We need people like you to stay. We need good homes. We need all that right here. And we were talking about it before. I think there's too many flippers nationwide, not enough home developers.
Right.
And there's a big difference out of it. And I'm sorry, I bring that right into the tenant world, because to me, I may not be flipping in 3 months. I'm flipping in 30 years. You know, I plan to hold these things for a long time, but I plan to put a good product on the market.
Right.
I plan to have good people that need good housing. Everybody should have housing. Shouldn't be a luxury. Everybody should have nice housing. Shouldn't be luxury. And to see other people that are like-minded out of it, I think is phenomenal. But we are going to have to start wrapping up here. So I'm going to ask both of you, these are going to be kind of interesting. I've never done this with two. 2 questions and your quote, a favorite quote. 2 questions. You can either answer them together, separate, however you want to do it.
We talked about him yesterday.
Oh, sweet.
I don't even think he was listening.
So the first one is, what have you been doing this year that you weren't doing a year ago?
So this year, I got a new job.
Okay.
I still have to do my day job and make money that way. So that's one thing I'm doing differently. And I'm also starting with AJ's help to get more organized with my expenses. So maybe that's something I've started like 2%.
Hey.
I'd like to get it to 95%, where I get a receipt, I take a picture,
I said, just text me.
text
and
it
I'll just
over to
fill it
her
out.
with, hey, this is the property, this is what I did. Took me 2 hours,
I need to know how many miles, what the task was, the house, the unit. Because actually,
put
on
it in the spreadsheet.
his triplex, I'm trying to organize like which unit has maybe more issues. And
Oh my gosh. I'm going to be calling you to start property management company soon. That's exactly. Do you use an app for this? What do you use? Just you?
Made an Excel.
You just made your own Excel out of it. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I think
Do it.
Excel's a great tool.
Do it.
Yeah, spreadsheet.
2% is all you need to do.
Yeah.
A little bit better every day.
And then another thing that we're doing this year is like, we just got a tax guy involved this year for the first time. We typically do our taxes.
You were doing all your own?
He's
We
really
were
good at
DIY
taxes. Yeah.
Woo.
And I started in college back when it was, the return was
H&R.
basically free. Like if all you had was a paycheck,
Yeah.
and a couple things, and it's just gotten like more and more. And I was
Yeah,
like,
dude, I was out
what?
after one property.
So
It's not worth it.
I was doing it when I had 2 actually, and John would help me, but his is more complicated. And now that I think we're also getting married, we're trying to like combine things and have someone like understand everything that we have.
Correct. Yep.
So getting set up before we're married this year, but then he'll know everything for next year when we're like officially married that tax season or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's part of the, deferring things to other people.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Like spackling a drywall.
Yeah,
Also, let me defer that to somebody he can get it done faster, and it's almost cheaper to
Yes, it
pay
is.
somebody else than to
Yep.
do it yourself. When it takes you 3 times as long. So even if you
And it
think you're
doesn't look good.
saving,
And then the
$30 a
painting has to come back in through there and fix
Right.
everything anyway.
Right.
Poor painters.
So
I love them.
starting to delegate things,
Nice.
would be nice.
Step
going
out of the
forward.
business and actually run it as a business versus in it. You got enough sweat equity. I think
Yeah.
you can afford to step out.
Especially like living in your renovation too can be a little exhausting, and there's dust on everything at every time, and you're constantly cleaning up different things and moving stuff from one room to the next as you work on it. So think we want to.
Dusty is not ever a friend.
Yeah, I think the next place we move into is not going to be a house we're planning to rent. So that'll be kind of like relaxing in that sense. Yeah. Or, I mean, I don't know if we'll have a forever house, but more than a 2-year house at that point. So
Yeah.
A longer term plan.
Yeah, like maybe 10 years. Yeah, I think we like doing the work, and I like customizing it the way we want it.
You got a great eye for it.
So when we find a granny house, we can make it the way we want it, or keep a lot of the characters, what I like to do. But it's cheaper too.
It is. Those granny houses, I love them.
Yeah.
They're my favorites.
Buy them at a discount. A flipper doesn't want it because it's slightly too nice. Like it's not a gut. And we can get
it's right on that borderline.
No one wants to do that much work, but we'll do it.
And you'll do it the right way, and that's the best part out of it. So this is going to be a hard question because considering the two of you pretty much did this the proper way anyway, is there anything you would change? Any advice you would give to your quote unquote younger self to do differently?
Yeah, I guess I would say maybe we should have like bought more property. If that's possible, like
yes, it is. That's definitely an answer.
We're actually different though, because
but I've been more aggressive.
Yeah,
if the second John has money in his bank, he buys another house.
You and me get along well.
I'm a little more cautious. Like I like to have a lot of money before I buy another one. So I don't know if I
you
would
and my
actually
wife would get along really well.
Yeah, I don't know if I would actually change that about myself. Like I get too nervous.
Yeah, there is a sweet point between being diversified enough that you can take the blows, but are you stretching yourself too thin to take those blows, and those blows hurt a little bit more? It's a very, very fine point. But
I think we balance each other out in that sense.
I think you guys have done a great job balancing each other out. As I say, I look forward to the future for you two, because the two of you have very bright futures. It's for Philadelphia, for Philly renters, for homes in this area. So my personal thanks to that. You've got a lot of good years ahead of you to help a lot of good people, and that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. If you ever want to be in real estate, come join us at Compass. No, but those are the things that it's perfect out of it. You really do complement each other really well out of it. You got a great. I was going to say the word marriage, but yeah, you got a great marriage between the two of you. Just set it up, do it well. Is there a quote that you guys live by? Anything that drives the business? Drives you personally?
Do you remember what I said yesterday?
No. What did you say?
Say what you're gonna say first.
I'll say don't put off till tomorrow what you can do today.
Great.
Yeah. Like my caveat to that, or sub quote to that, is like, don't sit down. So when you come home from work, like a lot of people sit down, turn on the TV, and I do it too. Like sit down, start looking at my phone, and it's just so much harder to get back up.
My hands are the hands of the devil.
Take care of that thing. Like, I needed to do this. Like whatever it is, take out the trash or fill out some form. And like, if you could just, when you come home from work, like don't sit down, take care of one of those things, get it done, cross it off your to-do list. Then you can sit down and look at your phone.
I agree.
Just to help you keep moving along.
That brings me to another question I'm going to ask afterwards, but you have something.
My quote is something that John says all the time, and it's don't stress about things that aren't in your control.
Ooh.
So I am a nervous landlord, and I'm like already pre-stressed of stuff that could go wrong, and John's like, if something's going to go wrong, like you can't change the fact that the condensate line got backed up.
Yeah.
So, like, what do we have to do? We just have to fix it. So he's never looked stressed. He's never appears stressed. I don't know if he is or if he's not, but he doesn't appear it. And
well, you both led me into this one then. So what do you do to decompress?
Paint.
All right, I'm done. So you can open property management, he can become a painter.
Yeah, so he can't really sit still. So I would say, like, to decompress, we like to spend time with like family or travel, or in the summer we like to go to the beach.
Cool.
One time we visited his parents at the beach for 3 days, and the day in the middle, he went home to work on the house and then came back. So I just can't sit for this long.
I guess I have one of those ADHD brains. Like when I was a kid, I was always getting in trouble.
Taking over the world these days.
And like running around and making a mess. And now, I try to harness that energy for good, right?
Yep.
When I'm working, I'm listening to podcasts, like, because, I occupy both parts of my brain at the same time somehow. And, it helps me concentrate. Like I'm one of those people who have music playing while I'm working to try to focus in, zone in on what I have to do.
I would definitely, there is an aspect to that. I'm the same kind of way of it. I got all my real estate, quote unquote, pre-knowledge from driving and turning on Bigger Pockets and turning on real estate education books.
Right.
That was how I decided that eventually I was one step into quitting my corporate job and jumping into real estate. I mean, I think it was atomic compound effect or atomic habits. One of them. I think it's compound effect, but you drive 12,000 miles a year. Listen, get rid of the sports talk radio, get rid of the music, and actually put on something educational. Within 3 years, you have an MBA.
Right.
That's hella knowledge. And it's funny because just through small stuff like this, I start seeing more and more people around me that they're starting to do it. They're starting to turn off the non-educational stuff and start turning on the secondary. Hey, just because I'm done with this doesn't mean I have to stop. And I think listen, man, ADD, ADHD is running this world right now. And if anybody wants to argue it, go tell Elon Musk that.
Right.
Go tell Joe Rogan that. ADD, ADHD is running this world, and it will continue. That's awesome. As I say, you two are an amazing couple. I wish the best in your marriage. I wish your best in this overall grouping. I want to use marriage for that one. LLC, forward, however you want to put that. But yeah, you guys are so cool out of it. How can anybody get a hold of you? What's the
on
best
Instagram?
Instagram. Okay.
Our Instagram handle is at Philly Home Reno.
So easy.
Yeah. RENO. So
who runs that?
Usually me.
Most of her. Yeah. So a lot of people will message her.
They'll be like, "Hey, dude. Hey, John."
And then say like, "Oh, like I want to talk to you about this or something," and then she gives them my email, and then the person emails me, and they have this whole back and forth. Like,
I think how that knows. I know how that goes.
But she's better at social
I've also
media.
met a lot of people through our Instagram account.
It's a cool tool.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed using it in the Philly area.
Yeah, especially for local.
Yeah. How
local.
did you get that freaking handle?
I don't know.
And I don't know how we even came up with it. It's like, what do we do? We're like renovating a home in Philly.
No, I think we ripped it off of something else. Was like Row Home Reno or something, or Philly Row
Well, so
Home.
there's a lot of very similar combos.
There are.
And at the time also, I don't know if John's always had this vision of having lots of properties, but I still always thought like we would just have his two and live in mine. So, maybe we would have picked a different name. But at the time, it was just renovating a couple houses, and it was our hobby. And I still tell people it's our hobby.
Hey.
So I feel like when you say it's your job, it gets a little more stressful.
You still have W-2s, so
Yeah.
therefore it is still technically a hobby.
Right.
It is still technically a side thing that you don't put all your time into.
We don't get the qualified business income deduction on our taxes. I asked my accountant. I can't get it.
No. Yeah. I don't know enough about that one. I know it's like 750 hours of working.
Yeah.
Right, and we don't do that. Yeah, even with all of our side
Really?
work, it's like
Oh no, because then it has to be more than 50% of your.
Right.
It still has to be 50% of total.
Yeah.
activity.
So if you're putting more time towards your W-2.
So if you work 2,000 hours a year at work, you'd have to work.
Now the cool part about
2,000.
that
Yeah.
is once you guys are married, only one person has to qualify, and both of you qualify. Just keep that one in mind. So, because like again, my wife technically is the investor. I'm the real estate agent. When we file taxes, I qualify for the 750 hours thing. She does not, but her properties do because I am
right.
married to her. Yeah, so there is that little part of it out of it as well. Last year was my year of learning taxes. So
Right.
I told you I broke them all down. So many more to go. But they are fun. Listen, I've had a blast with the two of you today. I hope we can have you back on another time, if that's all right with both of you.
We're around.
Sweet. But that is unfortunately the end of our show. So thank you everybody for tuning into the Atomic Real Estate Show. This has been a Direct Subs podcast. If you check them out at directsubs.com, we really appreciate it. And please like, follow, share, and comment wherever you look, and follow us on your local podcasts. Bye, guys and girls.
If you enjoyed our episode, please consider supporting the show by rating and reviewing the podcast. Also, check us out on Instagram at Atomic Real Estate Show to find out when new shows drop and to participate in our community Q&As. The Atomic Real Estate Show was brought to you by Direct Subs. Direct Subs is the #1 place for real estate investors to connect with local contractors for their flips, rentals, renovations, and new construction projects.